Yo, what's good everyone? Today I'm going to be breaking down some of my favorite cash game plays for this Week 16 NFL DraftKings main slate. Let's dive right into it. And like I always do here in these videos, I'm going to give you a high-level overview of my cheat sheet, breaking down some of my favorite cash game plays here for this Week 16 NFL DraftKings main slate. But as always, everyone, just want to remind you and highly recommend joining my free Discord channel. You can see that mentioned above. Over 850 people in there. We've had 10 people join just this week, talking multiple different sports for DFS, but primarily NFL and NHL. If you want to join that, there's a link to do so in the description below, as well as in the pinned comment below. With that being said, let's dive into the cheat sheet here. We're going to kick it off at the quarterback position. Now, if you watched my first look video earlier this week, I mentioned that we needed some value to open up on this slate, and it typically happens at this point in the season. Week 16, so many injuries across the NFL. Well, we got some value to open up here at the quarterback position with Michael Penix Jr., the Atlanta Falcons. First start here this week in a good spot at home against the New York Giants. Bare minimum price tag here of $4,500, where we need, 13.5 DraftKings points for him to hit 3x value. Considering the matchup, I think he can get us there, but honestly, everyone, if I can find that extra $900 to get up to Anthony Richardson, I do want to do that. I like the matchup at home here against the Tennessee Titans, but more importantly, we just know we get a safer floor here out of Richardson and a higher ceiling. He's probably got a floor of 10 DraftKings points and a ceiling of 30 plus DraftKings points with that rushing upside that he brings, and we just don't know what the floor and ceiling is quite yet for Michael Penix Jr. So again, really prefer to get to AR-15 here if I have that extra $900, but I do think Penix Jr. is viable, and you're going to see him used a lot in cash lineups this week. Now, moving on to the running backs here, and there's some really good spots for this position this week, but we're going to have to spend up for it. We're not getting a whole lot of value here, at least on the cash side of things, in my opinion. I don't even have Bijan Robinson on the cheat sheet here right now, but I honestly think he's cash game viable as well. Really good spot at home against the New York Giants, who have not been good at stopping the run as of late. But I prefer to get down into the 7K range here with Chase Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, and James Conner. For starters, Chase Brown here has been a volume monster in the Cincinnati offense, really ever since Zach Moss got put on the IR. If they're winning this game, he's going to see a boatload of rushing attempts, and if they're just by chance losing this game, which they shouldn't be against the Cleveland Browns, well, then he's going to be more involved in the passing game. So really, he's matchup proof, and I do like him at that price of $7,700. The most popular running back on this slate this week will be Jahmyr Gibbs. David Montgomery got put on the IR, not going to play the rest of the regular season. It sounds like he could come back in playoffs, though. Irrelevant here for week 16 because Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be the guy. Probably going to see the most rushing attempts this week than he's seen all season, and we know his involvement in the passing game. And then James Conner, probably the best matchup he's going to see all year long against the Carolina Panthers, who have one of the worst rushing defenses in the NFL. But just like Chase Brown, this guy's game script proof. Whether they're winning or losing, he's going to be involved. Now, on the other side of that game, I don't mind Chuba Hubbard either. He's in a good spot against the Cardinals rushing defense that has not been great as of late themselves. I just think he's a little too expensive for my liking. I'd rather find that extra $300 to get to James Conner, that extra $700 to get to Jahmyr Gibbs, but for what it's worth, he should be a relatively popular play at the running back position this week, and he is cash game viable. Now, folks, before we dive into some of these wide receiver plays here, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. It's completely free to do, and it truly does help me out. Every like, comment, and sub that you guys leave helps the channel grow. All right, now diving into these wide receivers here, and this is probably the hardest position to lock in for cash games this week because there's so many plays here in the mid 5K to 6K range that are very similar. Let's start at the top here with Devontae Adams, though, at $7,100. I seem to be in the very few mix of people who like him for cash lineups this week. I don't know why people don't. Really good spot here against the LA Rams. Him and Aaron Rodgers are starting to get that chemistry back together. Double-digit targets in multiple straight weeks. 40-plus DraftKings points in just the second half of last week's game. So yeah, $7,100. I think he's cash game viable. What I think you're going to see most people spend for the wide receiver position this week is in that 5 to 6K range. Jackson Smith and Jigba here. Good spot against the Minnesota Vikings, who do give it up in the slot a little bit, and he's really kind of come on as the number one wide receiver this year for the Seattle Seahawks. Jawan Jennings, I don't love the matchup against the Miami Dolphins. Their corners have been solid this year, but what else are the 49ers going to do here? No Jordan Mason, no Christian McCaffrey, no Isaac Guerrero. They got to throw the ball to win this game. Jacoby Myers here, really good spot against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it sounds like Aiden O'Connell should be back here this week. DJ Moore, you could go with Keenan Allen in the lower 5K range, but DJ Moore still seems like the alpha in this wide receiver core. I know it could go a number of different ways. We could even see Rome Odunze have a big game this week, so that's why he's kind of my fourth preferred play here when it comes to the wide receivers. But then Brian Thomas Jr. has been elite with Mac Jones under center, which is kind of weird to say. The reason I put him as an honorable mention, though, is because I got Brenton Strange there at the tight end position, and I'm probably not going to stack two pass catchers from the Jags in my same cash lineup. And then Jalen Coker there of the Carolina Panthers. If you're looking for a cheap, viable play, this guy led all wide receivers for Carolina last week in snaps, second in routes run, and second in targets. Good price there at $4,200. And then when it comes to the tight ends this week, I'm just going to lock in Brenton Strange here at $3,500 for Jacksonville. With Evan Ingram out of the lineup last week, he saw double-digit targets. He is questionable heading into Sunday, but it doesn't sound like it's a major concern for Jacksonville, and he is expected to play. So I'm just locking him in my cash lineup. But if you wanted to spend up for Trey McBride this week, I absolutely think that's in play. He has been a target monster as of late. He has yet to find the end zone, though, and I think he could do that this week here in a really good spot against Carolina. As a matter of fact, Kyler even tweeted earlier this week that 85 is going to find the end zone sooner than later. Will it be this week? I don't know for sure, but it is a really good spot. Like I said, I'm locking in Brenton Strange, but I wouldn't blame you for playing Trey McBride either. And then when it comes to the defenses here this week, I'd love to be able to spend up for the Buffalo Bills at home facing a rookie quarterback in Drake May. This should be a really good bounce back spot for them after having a couple of down games. Or the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Cleveland Browns, whose quarterback situation is disgusting right now. If I can't afford either one of those, I don't mind the Raiders at home here going up against Jacksonville. And if I'm really, really desperate, I don't mind Chicago at home facing Jared Goff with no David Montgomery. Goff has only played one game outdoors this year against the Green Bay Packers, and it was his worst game of the season in terms of fantasy scoring. So Bears $2,200, that'd be the desperate punt play for me if I needed to go there. All right, everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank y'all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Let's have ourselves a great weekend here, folks, and let's win some money on this Week 16 main slate.